Hi friends, Mindy here. Welcome to another Can Mindy Make It video. Today's a kind of special edition video. I have this Nativity ephemera pack from Bythewell4God. This will be releasing with their next kit pre-sale, which is in the next couple of days if you're watching this on Friday. And I had a friend reach out to me and ask if I could create something that would work as a kind of decor piece or decoration for like her son's apartment, or like kind of a masculine type scene or whatever. And so I'm just kind of showing you all the pieces that I'm going to be working with here. And so I am going to be making kind of a 3D little piece that can it's going to be on the smaller side, but it can kind of go in, on an apartment or on a table or whatever, just make a kind of a good gift. And so that was the challenge. So that's what I'm going to be doing today. So I have this backer piece that's actually from the packaging that has that star on it, and that's going to be the background for what I do today. So I have this piece of cardboard, which is actually pretty stiff cardboard. You could use anything. You could do this on a canvas if you wanted to as well, and just kind of keep it not as dimensional. You could use a shadow box. You could do all kinds of things. I was just trying to use up some things that I had in my house. And so I'm just tracing around this backing paper here, and I'm going to cut down my my cardboard piece, and I'm just kind of making an adjustment to the height here. And so I'm just going to get out my self-healing mat, my Tim Holtz ruler that has the steel side, and my box cutter, and I'm just going to line this up on that line that I measured, and I'm going to take a couple passes through this cardboard. Again, this is pretty stiff cardboard. You could actually even do this probably with like chipboard of pretty, I don't know that a cereal box would be maybe heavy enough unless you kind of supported it, but definitely this particular piece of cardboard, again, you could do this on a canvas or in a shadow box, all kinds of different things. There's also a product called hardboard that you can use, but that might not be something that everybody just has laying around. So what you see me doing here is I'm actually going to make this fold. So I'm just taking one really light pass with my craft knife here along this line, and then I'm going to line up my ruler and get my bone folder, and now I'm just going to really crease in that section right there. I'm just kind of scoring this several times so that I can actually bend this. So I want to be able to create a little three-dimensional scene here. So I'm just really bending this, taking some time to kind of, I don't want to crack the cardboard necessarily, but I want it to be able to stand up. I may have to, put a support on the back, like you would, like a picture frame, which is actually another way that you could do this. Anyway, so I'm just making sure everything fits here, and then I'm going to have my manger in the background, and right here is where I realize I need to trim off some of this backer. So I'm just kind of measuring this where, even with the fold line, and then I'm just going to trim off this excess. I'm just using my ruler and the grid lines on my craft mat here just to kind of line it up so I can cut it straight. In the end, that part down at the bottom doesn't really matter because it's going to get covered up, but I'm just trying to keep it as even as I can. I'm going to be using this fabric piece here. This actually comes with the kit as well, and I'm going to be using that as kind of my ground. So I just wanted to make sure that I had everything out here. I'm going to pull out these pieces, and the first thing that I'm going to do is actually make them into stickers. I have this Xyron sticker maker. I'm doing this just for convenience, really. You could, just because I want them to be sticky on the back, because I'm going to put these on some chipboard just to give them a little bit more sturdiness. You could definitely just use, any adhesive that you wanted to. Obviously, this manger is a little bit too big for that Xyron, but I have another one that I've just had for years that's a little bit bigger. I just don't use it very often because I don't like to feel like I'm wasting this stuff. So with this, you basically, once you run it through the machine, then you kind of burnish around the edges and then you peel off the top part, and now you've basically created stickers. It's a handy little tool for ephemera and stuff as well, and they do make a smaller version also. So anyway, now I'm going to take all of those little pieces that are now basically stickers, and I'm going to stick them on this cereal box. If you followed my channel at all, you know that no box is safe in my house. So I do a lot with the boxes, cereal boxes and snack boxes and that kind of stuff. They just have a lot of purposes. So here you can see I'm just now going to fussy cut this out, and I'm going around and trimming out all of the white on all of these pieces. And then I'm going to go around, because now there's, that kind of exposed edge, that white part, and I'm just going to try to make this seem more seamless. So I am taking, it's actually some archival ink in coffee, I think, and I'm going around the edge of each of these images just to get that white off of there, in case, maybe I just didn't cut it perfectly or whatever. It will kind of mask all of that. So now I need to deal with my background, and I have pulled out a few different colors of paint here. I pulled out like a really deep purple and a blue that I'm going to mix together, and then some black gesso as well, just to try to get the color that I'm looking for. At first, I'm not really sure what I was thinking, because that backer piece is going to cover essentially this whole entire front section, but I went ahead and painted it anyway. So that's just part of my process. I don't really know. I'm just trying to mix up this color to kind of get it. It was a little too purple there, so I'm adding some blue, and then I'll add some more gesso, and I'm just going to cover the front and the back of this cardboard here, just so that everything looks nice and uniform, and I'll make sure and do the edges as well. And so here on the back, I'm just making sure that my brush strokes are pretty even, just so that you can't see them when they dry. So now I'm just going around the edge just to make sure everything is nice and dark, and just kind of pull everything together. And then down here on the bottom, this is going to be where I'm putting that fabric, but I want to make sure there's a layer of paint there too, so that the cardboard doesn't kind of show through. So I'm just putting some brown, and I'm running that brown up onto the bottom part of the background as well. This is actually a distress paint, which I believe is in walnut stain, the color. Obviously this is not going to be an opaque color, but it doesn't really matter, because like I said, it's going to be covered with fabric. So now I'm going to put that to the side and let that dry. And while it's drying, I'm going to work on jazzing up the background just a little bit. I didn't want to go too sparkly. You could definitely do something more, but this is a Pico embellisher, and it's got like a needle tip on it, and so it's a metallic acrylic paint in this bottle. And I'm just going to go through here and cover this star. This particular color is like a very yellowy gold, and so it worked really well with the background star here. And then I'm just going to go around, and I'm doing some of the background stars, but not all of them. But this is also a little bit dimensional, so it will dry with just a little bit of dimension. But those are great, and they come in different colors as well. So now my background is dry, and you can see this is not going to sit up on its own, obviously. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some glue. This is Helmar 450 Quick Dry, and I'm just running it along in the seam here. This is a really strong adhesive, and then I'm just going to hold this for a few minutes so that it will stand up. And you can see on the back, I have gone ahead off camera and I wrote out the scripture in Matthew. I did that off camera because that lettering takes me a little bit of time, so I thought that might be a little bit boring to watch. So anyway, you could type something out and tape it to the back or adhere it to the back or whatever. You wouldn't have to necessarily do lettering, but the black on the back kind of reminded me of a chalkboard, and so for whatever reason, I just wanted to use some white paint back there and include the scripture. So now I am putting some glue, and I'm trying to make sure I get all the way to the edges with this glue. I'm using my Barely Arts precision glue here, just making sure I have good coverage along the back, and then I'm just going to kind of slide this into place on my little card. And as you can see, I don't think that I mentioned it, I did actually distress around the edges of this backer paper with that same, it's, I think, I want to say that it's coffee, the archival ink. And just to tie it together with kind of the pieces. And now you can see I'm trying to kind of line up the fabric down here at the bottom in the way that I think it's going to go. And then I decided I really wanted to add some dimension to kind of pull the manger and everything, or the stable, not the manger, the stable kind of off of the background, just kind of give it a little bit more dimension. So I pulled out some black craft foam. This is like kids department craft foam. It works really good to add some 3D kind of dimension instead of like pop dots or whatever. So I just added some liquid glue, let that dry, and now I'm going to trim around this piece, and that will just help it pop up off of the background just a little bit and give it some more interest. So you can see I'm going to kind of trim. I wanted to mention this too, when you're doing this, like with this this foam on the back, whenever I'm cutting it, I'm kind of undercutting it, which means I'm kind of taking my scissors and kind of angling them underneath, instead of being completely straight up and down, I'm kind of at an angle, and that will create more like a curvature on the back, so it's not like completely obvious that it's there. I don't know if that makes sense, but anyway, this next part I'm doing is I'm actually using a glue stick here, and I am adding some glue to the base part and then just up a little bit on the background here, and this is where I'm going to be adding my fabric. I'm using the same Cocoina glue stick that I used to cover my Bible, because again it's not going to leak through or stain the fabric. So I'm just kind of pushing this into place and smoothing it out, and then I'm leaving it kind of overhanging on the right side. I will eventually trim off that excess, but for right now I just want to give it a chance to dry. And I'm gluing my stable piece here, and I'm going to actually center this right underneath that star. And I'm not putting it down all the way flush with the bottom. I just wanted it to be a little bit taller than that, and so I will kind of disguise where that space is, that gap between the bottom and the actual, floor part there. So now I'm just going to go through, and I am gluing the images of Joseph and Mary, and I'm doing the same thing. I'm just going to glue them down to this craft foam and then trim them out, because I don't want them like right on top of the stable. I want them to be just a little bit away. This craft foam isn't super thick, so it's not going to give it that much of a dimension, but it will just add a little bit of interest. You can kind of see the way that it is from the stable to the background there. So I'm just going to glue him down, and with him, I actually did put him all the way down at the bottom. So he's actually like touching down at the bottom, and then I'll put Mary down there too. So she's kind of glued to the stable and then touching down on the bottom. You can kind of see the dimension from this angle. I apologize because this dimensional thing is kind of hard to show. It's kind of hard to film, but I went ahead and glued on a little like kickstand on the back. I cut it out of that same cardboard. I painted it black, and then I just glued it on there. And then I went ahead and did that with all of my characters also. So I backed them all with the craft foam, and for the ones that are going to be kind of further out, I created little kind of kickstands behind them, and then that will just help them stay upright when I glue them down. And I wanted to use these little pieces of fabric that I had left over, since I'm kind of creating, I'm using this as kind of my ground. I'm just going to kind of tuck this in up underneath the edges to kind of cover that gap between the stable and the floor. So I'm just going to use I think this is Fabri-Tac glue. I have several different glues that I'm using kind of interchangeably right now. So I just put kind of a puddle of glue, and I'm just going to use my little craft pick here and kind of gather it up together this fabric up underneath the leg of the stable, and then I'm just kind of pulling some of the fabric up and gluing it to the front of the stable just to kind of give it a little bit more dimension, and this is going to cover where that gap is. And now I can glue down all of the rest of my pieces here from this nativity scene. So I'm just putting glue along the bottom, and this is Fabri-Tac, so it's going to dry pretty quickly. I'm just going to hold it in place for just 1 second, and then I'll work on some of these other pieces. So as I'm doing that, I just wanted to mention again that this is for the Can Mindy Make It Challenge. It's kind of out of order with some of the other videos that I've already recorded, but because this scene, these ephemera pieces are coming out, I just want to kind of do this video ahead of time. So here you can kind of see all the pieces and the dimension that are in it. And so if you like this video, I would appreciate it if you gave it a thumbs up. That just really helps other people find my channel as well. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comment section down below. If you have suggestions for future Can Mindy Make It videos, I'd appreciate it if you leave those as well. And until next time, bye.